Thanksgiving dinner. My daughter raised her glass and said, "My father-in-law earns in 1 month what my dad earns in 10 years. That's success versus failure." Bradley Miller laughed. The whole table went quiet. Not the good kind of quiet, the kind where everyone's looking at their plates, pretending they didn't hear what they just heard, but they heard it. Every single person at that table heard my daughter compare me to her husband's father like I was some kind of cautionary tale. As the story unfolds, take a moment to like, hit the hype button, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive her or walk away? I'm Harrison Walters, 65 years old, licensed electrical systems specialist. 40 years fixing power grids, rewiring commercial buildings, climbing poles in January snowstorms while rich men sat in heated offices. My hands are scarred from wire cuts and electrical burns. My back aches from crawling through ceiling spaces. But I never missed a day's work in 4 decades. Rebecca, my daughter, my only child, sat there with her wine glass still raised, waiting for someone to toast with her. Her husband Bradley had this smirk on his face, the kind that said he'd been waiting for this moment, waiting for her to finally say out loud what they'd both been thinking for years. My wife Sophia touched my hand under the table, not a warning, just solidarity. "Rebecca," I said quietly. She looked at me. 32 years old, wearing a dress that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. PR director at some digital media company I can't pronounce. Everything about her screamed status. The jewelry, the haircut, the way she held her wine glass like she was posing for a magazine cover. "Dad, I'm just being honest," she said. "Bradley's father built an empire. You fix things?" "I do," I said. "It's not an insult," Bradley added, leaning back in his chair. "It's just reality. If you earn less, you deserve less. That's how the world works. Supply and demand, right?" My father understood that. He created value. I reached into my jacket pocket. Everyone watched. I pulled out a manila envelope. Not a weapon, not a dramatic letter, just receipts. Decades of receipts, statements, canceled checks, payment confirmations. All organized, all dated, all documented. I spread them across the table like a winning poker hand. "State University tuition," I said, pointing to the first stack. 4 years, $87,000 total. Every semester paid in full, on time. Rebecca's face changed. "Apartment rent, senior year through grad school," I continued. "Another $34,000. Because you said you needed to focus on your career, not worry about housing." Bradley stopped smirking. "Your wedding," I said. "The venue you insisted on, the photographer, the flowers, the open bar, $43,000. Sophia squeezed my hand tighter. "The BMW you drove until last year," I added. "Down payment, insurance, 3 years of loan payments when you were building your brand. $28,000. I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. Medical bills when you had that appendix surgery and your insurance lapsed. Legal fees when you needed help with that contract dispute at your first job, the security deposit on your condo, moving expenses, furniture, every emergency you called me for at 2 in the morning. The receipts covered the entire table. $200,000 in total. Maybe more. I'd stopped counting years ago." "Gifts," Rebecca whispered. "Those were gifts." "No," I said. "They were investments, in a daughter I thought would remember where she came from." Her phone started buzzing, then Bradley's. Then both their phones lit up like Christmas trees. 92 missed calls. I could see the screen from where I sat. Credit card company, bank, loan servicer. All the automated systems I'd been paying into for years, set to default the moment I stopped. Which I had, that morning. Every automatic payment, every linked account, every financial safety net I'd quietly maintained while they built their empire on my overtime shifts. "What did you do?" Rebecca's voice cracked. I stood up, put on my jacket. Sophia stood with me. "I gave you everything," I said. "And you gave me this." Bradley jumped up. "You can't just... Those are legally binding." "Read the contracts," I said. "Every loan, every payment agreement, every co-signed document. I have copies, notarized, time-stamped, with your signatures." I walked toward the door, Sophia's hand in mine. "Dad, wait." Rebecca started. I stopped, didn't turn around. "You wanted honesty," I said. "Here's mine. I'm not your failure story, I'm your creditor. And effective immediately, you're in default." We left. The phones kept ringing. Behind us, I heard Bradley say, "This is extortion." I heard Rebecca start to cry. I heard chairs scraping, voices rising, panic setting in. I felt lighter than I had in 30 years. They buried me first. I only learned to dig back. The first call came at 6 the next morning. Rebecca. I let it ring. The second came at 6:15. Bradley. Same. By 7 a.m., they'd called 12 times. By noon, 37. I sat in my garage workshop, reorganizing my tools, the same tools I'd used to wire their first apartment, to install the security system in their condo, to fix their breaker box when they blew a fuse running too many appliances at once. Sophia brought me coffee. Black, 2 sugars. The way I'd been drinking it since before Rebecca was born. They're outside, she said. I looked through the window. Bradley's Audi, the one he leased to impress clients, was parked in our driveway. Rebecca sat in the passenger seat, phone pressed to her ear. Probably calling her lawyer. Good luck with that. Let them wait, I said. Sophia smiled. Not a happy smile. A knowing one. We'd been married 42 years. She'd watched me work double shifts to pay for Rebecca's piano lessons, triple overtime during the holidays to afford those family vacations Rebecca now said were embarrassing. She'd never said a word against our daughter, never complained. But last night, when Rebecca called me a failure, I saw something break in Sophia's eyes. Not sadness, permission. I pulled the title records this morning, Sophia said, handing me a folder. The condo, it's still under your name as primary lien holder. The bank never processed their refinance application. You remember, they needed your co-signature. I remembered. 2 years ago. Bradley swore it was temporary, just until his big promotion came through. The promotion that never materialized because his father handed him a fake position at the family company to make him look successful. So legally, I said. Legally, you can execute the lien, Sophia confirmed. They've missed 2 payments. The third is due next week. After 90 days, you can foreclose. I looked at the papers. Everything documented, everything legal, everything they'd signed without reading because they trusted that Dad would never actually collect. They were right, until yesterday. The doorbell rang, then pounding. Mr. Walters, Harrison, we need to talk. Bradley's voice. Angry, desperate, entitled. I opened the door. He looked awful. Still in yesterday's clothes, eyes red, hair a complete mess. This was a man who'd spent the last 12 hours realizing his entire life was built on borrowed money and goodwill, and both had just expired. You're making a mistake, he said. Am I? Rebecca is your daughter. Rebecca called me a failure in front of 18 people, I said. You laughed. It was just talk. No, it was the truth. Your truth. The way you both see me. A working-class man who should be grateful his daughter married up. Bradley's jaw clenched. You want an apology? Fine, I'm sorry. Rebecca's sorry. We'll apologize publicly if you want. Just undo whatever you did to our accounts. Can't. Can't or won't? Both. He stepped closer. Aggressive posture, like I was some employee he could intimidate. I will take you to court, he said. Harassment, financial coercion, elder abuse. I handed him a folder. Different from Sophia's. This one had red tabs. What's this? He asked. Call your lawyer, I said. Have him explain it to you. Page 17 is particularly interesting. That's where you stated on a legal document that your income is $340,000 annually. Page 23 shows your actual W-2. Care to guess the number? His face went white. Tax fraud, I said. Bank fraud. Loan fraud. Every inflated application, every false statement, every forged pay stub you used to qualify for loans you couldn't afford. All documented, all verified, all reportable. You wouldn't. I already did. Anonymous tip to the IRS. They love this stuff. Penalties, interest, possible charges. Should take about 6 months to process. He grabbed my shirt. Finally. The mask dropped. You're ruining our lives. I didn't move. Didn't push back. Just looked at him. No, I said quietly. I'm collecting what I'm owed. You ruined your own life by building it on lies. Rebecca appeared behind him, crying. Makeup streaked, designer clothes wrinkled. Daddy, please. That word. Daddy. She hadn't called me that in 8 years. Not since she decided I was too blue-collar to introduce to her new friends. Please what? I asked. We'll fix this. We'll pay you back. With what money? Silence. Your credit cards are maxed, I continued. Your bank accounts are frozen pending fraud investigation. Your car lease is 3 payments behind. Your condo association is threatening to fine you for late HOA dues. And your jobs. I paused. Well, Bradley's job is fake. And Rebecca, your company just announced layoffs. I read the news. Her face crumpled. How did you... I pay attention, I said. I always did. You just never noticed because you were too busy being ashamed of me. Bradley pulled her back toward the car. We're getting a lawyer, a real one, and you'll regret this. I watched them drive away, tires screeching, reckless and angry. Sophia stood beside me. That was cruel, she said softly. Yes. Good. I closed the door, locked it, went back to my workshop. They thought I gave them gifts. I gave them obligations with signatures, and now payment was due. 3 days later, Bradley showed up at my workplace. Big mistake. I was at a commercial site, rewiring a junction box 30 feet up on a utility pole. November wind cutting through my work jacket. My crew was below, feeding me cable. Normal Tuesday. Then I saw the Audi, parked illegally in a loading zone. Bradley got out looking up at me like I was an exhibit at a zoo. Harrison, get down here. My foreman, Eddie, walked over. Sir, this is a work site. You need to leave. I'm talking to him. Bradley pointed at me. I finished securing the connection, tested the voltage, then climbed down. Slow. Methodical. The way you do when you've been climbing poles for 40 years and you know rushing gets people hurt. My crew watched. Eddie stayed close. You done? I asked Bradley. We need to settle this. Name your price. My price? To stop this insanity. To give us back our accounts. To fix whatever you broke. I know this is about money, so name your number. I took off my work gloves, tucked them into my belt. You think this is about money, I said. Everything's about money. No. Money is what you use to measure worth because you don't understand value. He laughed, that same condescending laugh from Thanksgiving. Value? You're an electrician. Electrical systems specialist. Whatever. You make what, $60,000 a year? I spend that on vacations. My crew shifted. Eddie stepped closer. These were men who worked with their hands, who understood what it meant to build things, to fix things, to keep the lights on while rich men slept. You know what I did last month? I asked. Bradley didn't answer. I rewired the emergency power system for a hospital, I said. 300 beds. ICU, surgical suites, neonatal unit. If I make one mistake, people don't get their spreadsheets late. They stop breathing. That's very noble. 2 months ago, I installed the electrical infrastructure for a new school, 600 kids. If I cut corners to save money, those kids sit in the dark. Or worse, the building catches on fire. Bradley's smirk faded slightly. Every bridge you drive over, every building you walk into, every device you charge, every light you turn on, someone like me made that possible. Someone who learned the codes, got the certifications, put in the hours, took the risks, while people like you stood in clean offices and called us failures. You laughed. When my daughter said I was worth less than your father because my paycheck has fewer zeros, you laughed, like I was the punchline to a joke you'd been telling for years. Eddie and my crew formed a loose semicircle. Not threatening, just present, Bradley noticed. His confidence wavered. Look, I was out of line. I admit it. But you're taking this too far. You're destroying Rebecca, your own daughter, over pride. No, I said. Over betrayal. There's a difference. He stepped closer, back to aggressive. You're a vindictive old man who can't handle that his daughter outgrew him. I didn't see his hand coming, but I felt it. Open palm, aimed at my face. He actually tried to slap me, like I was some servant who talked back. I caught his wrist. 40 years of gripping tools, climbing poles, pulling cable. My hand was a vice. Don't, I said quietly. He tried to pull away. Couldn't. Let go of me. You put your hands on me at a work site, I said. In front of witnesses. That's assault. Eddie already had his phone out. Recording. You grabbed me first, Bradley sputtered. No, I stopped you from hitting me. There's a difference. Same way there's a difference between giving someone money and loaning it to them. You never learned that. I released his wrist. He stumbled back. Stay away from my job site, I said. Stay away from my home. If you want to communicate, do it through lawyers. Otherwise, the next time you put hands on me, I'll press charges. He was shaking. Rage or fear? I couldn't tell. Maybe both. You're going to regret this, he said. Maybe. But I won't regret it as much as you're going to regret co-signing loans you can't pay back. He drove off, tires squealing again. Definitely his signature move. Eddie pocketed his phone. Want me to send you that video? Please. Your daughter really said that? Another crew member asked. About the money? She did. They all looked uncomfortable. These were men who understood family, who worked overtime to pay for their kids' needs, who sacrificed without expecting gratitude but hoped for at least basic respect. "That's rough, Harry," Eddie said. "Yeah. But you're handling it." I looked up at the junction box I'd just wired. Clean work. Safe work. Work that would keep electricity flowing to 3 city blocks for the next 30 years. "I fix things for a living," I said. "But some things can't be fixed. Sometimes you just have to cut the damaged wire and move on." Eddie nodded. "Need anything? Character witness, testimony, whatever?" "I appreciate it." "We got your back, man." I climbed back up the pole. Work didn't stop for family drama. And honestly, being 30 feet in the air with nothing but cable and sky felt more honest than anything happening on the ground. He hit me. I took notes. And now I had video evidence. The repossession happened on a Wednesday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but Rebecca called me 15 times in 10 minutes, so I got the play-by-play through angry voicemails. The BMW, the one I'd co-signed for, the one I'd made payments on for 3 years while she established her credit, the one she drove to Thanksgiving dinner before calling me a failure, gone, towed from her office parking lot, in front of her coworkers. Her message was mostly screaming, some crying, a lot of "how could you" and "I hate you" mixed with "this is illegal" and "you're insane." I saved the voicemails. Documentation matters. Sophia was in the kitchen when I got home, chopping vegetables for dinner. The radio played classical music. Normal evening, normal life. "Rebecca called," I said. "I know, she called me too." "What did you tell her?" Sophia set down her knife, looked at me with those calm eyes that had seen me through 4 decades of marriage, including the rough years, the broke years, the years when we didn't know if we'd make rent. "I told her that actions have consequences," Sophia said, and that maybe if she'd spent less time being embarrassed by her father and more time being grateful, she wouldn't be learning this lesson now. She must have loved that. She hung up on me. We stood in silence for a moment. "Do you think I'm wrong?" I asked. Sophia came over, put her hand on my chest, right over my heart. "I think you're tired of being treated like you're invisible," she said. "I think you spent 32 years giving everything to a child who grew up to despise you for not being wealthy. And I think that if you'd let this go, if you'd smiled and forgiven and allowed it to continue, you'd spend the rest of your life bitter and diminished. And you're not diminished, Harrison. You never were." I kissed her forehead. "Besides," she added, "Rebecca's been blocking your calls for 2 years, not answering when you tried to wish her happy birthday, forgetting to invite us to her company events. She cut you out of her life long before you cut her finances. She was right. I'd just been too focused on work, on surviving, on being the reliable dad who fixed things, to notice how completely my daughter had erased me from her narrative, until Thanksgiving, when she made it official. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mr. Walters, this is Janet Kim from First Regional Bank. I'm calling about account number ending in 4739. "The joint account," I said. "The one I opened for my daughter as co-signer." "Yes, sir. There's been unusual activity. Multiple overdraft attempts. We're legally required to notify the primary account holder before." "Close it," I said. Silence. "Sir?" "Close the account. Effective immediately. I'm the primary holder. She's the authorized user. I'm revoking that authorization and closing the account. There will be fees for premature closure. Bill me. And the overdrafts. Also bill me. I'll pay them, then close it." More silence, then typing. "Mr. Walters, I should inform you that this will significantly impact the other account holders' financial standing, credit score, banking relationships. I understand. And you still want to proceed?" "Yes. Very well. I'll process this immediately. Is there anything else?" "No, thank you." I hung up. Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Last safety net," I said. "The emergency account I set up when she was 18 for real emergencies, medical, legal, crisis. How much did she use it for?" "According to the statement, purses, restaurant charges, spa appointments, over $14,000 in the last 6 months." Sophia went back to cooking. "Then it wasn't an emergency fund. It was an allowance." "Not anymore." That night, I got an email from Rebecca. Not a personal email. A formal one, CC'd to a law firm. Subject line, "Cease and desist. Harassment." I opened it. Legal letterhead. Lots of threatening language about elder abuse, financial coercion, emotional distress. Demands that I immediately restore all financial accounts, cease all retaliatory actions, and pay for their legal fees. At the bottom, a personal note from Rebecca. "Dad, I don't know what happened to you. You used to be a good man. Now you're just cruel. When you're ready to apologize and fix this, maybe we can talk. But until then, stay away from us. You're not welcome in our lives." I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to my own lawyer with a simple note. "Please respond appropriately. All prior documentation attached." My lawyer, Tom Brennan, had been handling my will and estate planning for 15 years. Good man. Thorough. Not expensive, but competent. He called me 20 minutes later. "Harry, what the heck is going on?" I told him. "Everything. Thanksgiving, the loans, the co-signatures, the repossession, the bank account closure." He listened without interrupting. "So," he said finally, "they're threatening to sue you for collecting on legitimate debts they legally owe you." "Yes, debts they signed for, with notarized contracts, that you've been paying on their behalf for years." "Correct." "And their argument is that you're being mean by stopping?" "Apparently." Tom laughed. Not a professional laugh. A genuine, surprised laugh. "Harry, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen kids sue their parents for inheritance money. I've seen divorces where people fight over toothbrushes. But this takes the cake. Can they win? Win? Harry, they don't have a case. They have a tantrum with legal letterhead. I'll draft a response that'll make their lawyer regret taking this on contingency." "I don't want to destroy them," I said. "I just want them to understand." "Understand what?" "That respect isn't optional. That family isn't a transaction. That you can't build a life on borrowed money and borrowed love and expect it to last forever." Tom was quiet for a moment. "You know what, Harry? I think they're about to get a very expensive education." He hung up. 30 minutes later, I received his draft response. It was beautiful, clinical, devastating. Every loan documented, every payment tracked, every legal obligation outlined, and at the end, a simple statement. My client exercised his legal right to cease voluntary payments on debts he was not obligated to continue covering. If your clients wish to dispute their contractual obligations, we welcome litigation and look forward to discovery. Discovery. That's the part where both sides have to reveal everything. Every document, every communication, every lie. Bradley and Rebecca's lawyer would take one look at their actual financial records and drop them immediately. I approved the response. Tom filed it the next day. The cease and desist vanished. No follow-up, no court date, just silence. Applause is rented. I just shut off the lights. The memes started appearing 3 days after the car repossession. Someone at Rebecca's office, probably someone who'd been on the receiving end of her condescension for years, had filmed the tow truck, posted it online. Within hours, it was everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. "Finance influencer gets financed," one caption read. Another, "When daddy's money runs out." Because, of course, Rebecca had been positioning herself as a financial success story, posting pictures of the BMW, the condo, the expensive dinners. Boss babe / self-made has our financial freedom, all while I paid her rent. The comments were brutal. Her car got repoed at work. Imagine being this broke but this confident, self-made but dad paid. Sophia showed me on her phone. She'd never had social media, but our neighbor's daughter had sent her the links. "You should see the replies," Sophia said. "Half are making fun of her. The other half are asking what happened." "Is she responding?" "No. Her accounts went private this morning." Too late. The internet doesn't forget. Screenshots spread. People dug into her old posts. Found the photos where she'd called herself completely independent. Found the quotes where she'd given interviews about building wealth through smart choices. Smart choices. Like having a father who worked triple overtime so she could pretend she did it alone. I should have felt guilty. Maybe I should have felt protective. That's what fathers are supposed to do, right? Shield their children from consequences. But I felt nothing. Just a quiet satisfaction that the truth was finally visible. My phone rang. Unknown number again. "Mr. Walters, this is David Chen from News Channel 7. I'm doing a story on financial fraud among social media influencers, and your daughter's name came up in connection with..." I hung up. 3 more reporters called that day. I ignored them all, but Bradley didn't. Bradley gave an interview. Sophia and I watched it that evening. Local news segment. The dark side of debt collection, or something equally dramatic. There was Bradley sitting in what looked like a borrowed office, wearing his expensive suit, looking earnest and wounded. "My father-in-law is using legal technicalities to destroy his own daughter's life," he said. "Yes, we borrowed money. Yes, we signed contracts. But those were family agreements, not business transactions. We thought we were building something together. Instead, he's weaponizing generosity." The reporter, a young woman with sympathetic eyes, nodded along. "What do you think motivated this?" she asked. "Honestly, I think he resents our success. He worked a blue-collar job his whole life, and when he saw his daughter thriving in a white-collar career, making more money, living a better life, I think it triggered something. Pride, jealousy, I don't know." I turned off the TV. Sophia's hand was shaking. Not fear, rage. "That manipulative," she started. "Let him talk," I said. "He's lying, on television." "I know. People will believe him." "Some will." She looked at me, confused. "And you're okay with that?" I pulled out my phone, opened my email, found the message I'd been waiting for. "Tom sent me something this morning," I said. "Audio file, from 2 years ago. Remember when Bradley came over to ask me to co-sign their mortgage refinance?" "Vaguely. I recorded it, not to use against them, just because I record all legal conversations. Habit from work. You document everything so nobody can claim you said something you didn't." I played the file, my voice asking Bradley about the repayment terms. And Bradley's response, crystal clear. "Look, Harrison, between you and me, this is just a formality. The bank needs a co-signer, but you'll never actually have to pay anything. I make enough to cover this 3 times over. I just need your signature to speed up the process. Think of it as a paperwork favor." Then my voice. "But if something happens—" Bradley interrupting. "Nothing will happen. And if it did, I'd handle it. You're overthinking this. It's basically free money for me. The bank's just being paranoid." The recording continued for another 5 minutes, Bradley assuring me repeatedly that he was financially secure, that his income was more than enough, that I'd never have to worry about the debt. All lies. Sophia's eyes widened. "You have this?" she asked. "I have everything. Every conversation where they promised to pay me back, every text where Rebecca said she'd handle it next month, every voicemail where Bradley guaranteed his financial situation was solid." I forwarded the file to Tom. Added a note. "Bradley just did a TV interview calling me vindictive. Thought you might want to share this with his lawyer." "What will happen?" Sophia asked. "His lawyer will withdraw. No attorney wants to represent a client who goes on television and lies about easily disproven facts, especially not when the opposing party has recordings." We sat in silence. "You planned this," Sophia said finally. "Not the revenge, but the documentation. You knew." "No, I hoped I wouldn't need it. But I've worked in electrical for 40 years. You know what the first rule is? Test everything twice. Close. Assume everything will fail eventually. And document your work so when it does, nobody can blame you for the failure." She smiled, sad and proud at the same time. "They really have no idea who you are, do they? They know the version of me they needed, the wallet with legs, the ATM that apologizes for existing. But not the man who built this house, who wired it from scratch, who planned every circuit so it would last 50 years. No, they never wanted to know that man." My phone buzzed. Text from Tom. "Bradley's lawyer just called. They're withdrawing the cease and desist." He sounded panicked. "What did you send me?" I texted back. "The truth. It tends to have that effect." The next morning, Bradley's interview was gone from the news station's website. Deleted. No explanation. But I had a copy. Of course I had a copy. Your reputation is a mirror. I just threw the first stone. And the cracks were spreading fast. The first formal legal notice arrived on a Monday. Rebecca and Bradley were being investigated by the IRS for income misrepresentation. Simultaneously, their mortgage lender was initiating foreclosure proceedings on the condo, and the luxury car lease company was suing for breach of contract. I learned this not from them, but from Tom, who heard it from his paralegal, who heard it from her friend who worked at the courthouse. Small town, word travels. "They're drowning," Tom said over the phone. "And I mean legally, financially, publicly. Every domino you set up is falling exactly when you scheduled it." "I didn't schedule anything," I said. "I just stopped holding them up." Semantics. The result is the same. They're facing 6 figures in combined debts, penalties, and legal fees. Their credit is destroyed. Rebecca might lose her job. Her company's PR department is apparently re-evaluating her position after the social media incident. I should have felt something. Guilt, remorse, paternal instinct screaming at me to save her. Instead, I felt validated. "Tom, let me ask you something," I said. "If I go to a bank, take out a loan, spend the money, and then refuse to pay it back, what happens?" "They destroy your credit, seize your assets, and possibly prosecute you." "And is that the bank being vindictive?" "No, that's the bank being a bank." "Exactly." Tom was quiet for a moment. You know people won't see it that way, right? Your family. Parents are supposed to forgive, to help even when they're hurt. I helped for 32 years. I forgave every missed call, every canceled visit, every birthday she forgot. I forgave the eye rolls when I showed up to her events in my work clothes because I came straight from a job site. I forgave the way she introduced me to her friends, when she bothered to introduce me at all. This is my dad, said with the same tone you'd use for, this is my dentist. And Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving was just her saying out loud what she'd been thinking for years. That I'm worth less because I earn less, that I'm a failure because I work with my hands instead of a keyboard. Tom sighed. For what it's worth, Harry, I think you're right. I also think this is going to get worse before it gets better. It won't get better. That's not the goal. Then what is? I looked out my kitchen window. At the house I'd built equity in over 30 years. At the truck I'd paid off a decade ago and maintained myself. At the workshop where every tool had been earned through honest work. Consequences, I said. Real ones. The kind you can't Instagram your way out of. Revenge. Justice. There's a difference. We hung up. I went to work. Fixed a faulty transformer at an elementary school. Rewired an emergency exit light at a nursing home. Normal day, honest work. When I got home, there was a letter in the mailbox. Hand-delivered, no postage. Rebecca's handwriting. I recognized it instantly. The careful cursive she'd learned in 3rd grade when she used to write me Father's Day cards with crayon drawings of us holding hands. Sophia was already inside. I sat in the truck for a moment, holding the envelope. Then I opened it. Dad, I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if you want it fixed. But I need you to understand something. I never meant to hurt you. I was trying to be impressive, to show Bradley's family that I came from somewhere, that I was worth their son. I know what I said at Thanksgiving was wrong. I know I've been distant. I know I've made mistakes. But you're my father. Doesn't that count for something? Bradley says you won't stop until we lose everything. Maybe that's true. Maybe you hate us that much now. But I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please remember that I'm still your daughter, the same girl you taught to ride a bike, the same girl you stayed up with when she had nightmares. I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. Please call me. Rebecca. I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. Sophia was watching from the doorway. What does it say? She asked. I handed it to her. She read it in silence. She's scared, Sophia said finally. Yes. She's apologizing. She's trying to stop the consequences. Sophia looked at me. Is there a difference? I took the letter back. You remember when Rebecca was 16? She took your car without permission, crashed it into a mailbox. Minor damage, but still. What did she say? Sophia thought back. She said she was sorry. And what did she do the next week? Asked to borrow the car again. Exactly. She wasn't sorry she took it. She was sorry she got caught. Sorry there were consequences. The apology was a tool to make the consequences stop. You think that's what this is? I know that's what this is. She doesn't say I was wrong to treat you like an ATM. She says I was wrong to say it out loud. She doesn't say I've been a terrible daughter. She says I've been distant, like we had a scheduling conflict instead of a fundamental breakdown in respect. Sophia sat down at the kitchen table. What are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing? The letter isn't for me, it's for her. So later, when this is all over, she can tell herself she tried. She reached out, she apologized, and her cruel father rejected her. She gets to be the victim in her own story. You don't think any part of it is genuine? I looked at the letter again, at the careful handwriting, the emotional phrasing, the strategic vulnerability. If she'd written this 6 months ago, when I asked her to come to Thanksgiving and she said she was too busy, maybe I'd believe it. If she'd written this 2 years ago when I invited her to my retirement party and she didn't show up, maybe I'd believe it. But she writes it now, after her car gets repossessed, after her credit collapses, after the IRS comes calling. I put the letter in a drawer. This isn't an apology, it's a negotiation. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from guilt, from something else. A memory surfacing. Rebecca was 7, maybe 8. I'd promised to take her to the science center on Saturday, but Friday night, I got called in for emergency repairs. Major power outage affecting a hospital. Critical infrastructure. No choice. I worked 36 hours straight. Got home Sunday morning, exhausted, covered in grime. Found Rebecca sitting on the porch stairs, still waiting. You forgot, she'd said. Baby, I didn't forget. I had to work. People needed... You always have to work. She went inside. Wouldn't talk to me the rest of the day. Sophia had smoothed it over eventually, explained about emergencies, about responsibility, about how Daddy's job was important. Rebecca had nodded, seemed to understand, but maybe she didn't. Maybe that was the first crack. The first moment she started measuring my worth in presence instead of sacrifice, started seeing my work as absence instead of provision, or maybe I was making excuses, looking for the moment I could have fixed this, prevented this, saved this. The truth was simpler. She grew up, and the person she grew into didn't respect the person I was. You can't fix that with better parenting. You can't apologize your way out of contempt. Sophia stirred beside me, half asleep. You okay? Yeah. Liar. I turned to face her. I keep wondering if I'm wrong, if I'm being too harsh. And then I remember her face when she said it, the way she smiled, like she'd been waiting for permission to finally admit what she thought of me. Sophia touched my cheek. You gave her everything. I did. And she turned it into a measuring stick to beat you with. Yes. Then you're not wrong. You're just tired of being a doormat. She was right. I was tired. 40 years of being tired. Of working doubles so she could have music lessons, of skipping vacations so she could go to the better college, of driving a 15-year-old truck so she could drive something new. And for what? So she could introduce me to her friends as just my dad, while she called Bradley's father Mr. Miller with genuine admiration. No more. I didn't want them jailed. I didn't want them hurt. I wanted them awake, aware, unable to hide from what they'd built their lives on. And if that made me cruel, so be it. I don't want them jailed. I want them alive when the world stops clapping. The charity gala was set for Friday night, black tie event at the Grandview Hotel, 500 people, corporate sponsors, local politicians, press coverage. Bradley's father was the honorary chair. One last attempt to use the family name to save face. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I was a sponsor. Tom had helped me set it up. A month ago, before Thanksgiving, before everything fell apart, I'd made a donation, $25,000, anonymous. In exchange, I got a table and the option to speak if I wanted. I hadn't wanted to, until now. You sure about this? Tom asked over the phone. Once you do this publicly, there's no walking it back. I'm sure. And you have everything? Documents, recordings, proof? Everything that matters. They're going to fight back, probably physically. Bradley has a temper, and cornering him in front of 500 people. I know. Tom paused. Harry, I'm your lawyer, so I have to ask. Is this about justice, or is this about humiliation? Both, I said honestly. They humiliated me publicly. They get the same treatment. Eye for an eye. No, eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. This is more like you take my eye, I take your whole face. Tom laughed despite himself. You've changed. No, I just stopped pretending I hadn't. Friday came fast. I wore my only suit, the same one I'd worn to Rebecca's wedding. Still fit, barely. Sophia wore a dark blue dress, simple, elegant, not trying to impress anyone. We drove to the hotel in my truck, parked in the back lot, walked in through the main entrance like we belonged there. The ballroom was overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, ice sculptures, a stage with a podium and a screen for presentations. Everyone dressed like money, talking like money, performing wealth for each other. I saw Rebecca immediately. She wore red. Designer dress, probably rented. Her hair was perfect, makeup flawless. She was standing with Bradley and his parents, laughing at something, playing the role of successful couple despite everything falling apart behind the scenes. She noticed me. The laughter stopped. Her face lost all its color. Bradley followed her gaze. His jaw clenched. I found our table, front and center, reserved for platinum sponsors. The woman at the next table leaned over. Are you Mr. Walters, the anonymous donor? That's me. How wonderful. What company are you with? I'm an electrical system specialist, independent contractor. Her smile faltered. Oh, how nice. She turned back to her table. The subtle dismissal was so automatic she probably didn't even know she'd done it. I'd seen it 1,000 times. The moment people learned what I did for a living and decided I wasn't worth their attention, it used to bother me. Now it was just fuel. The program started. Dinner, speeches, awards. Bradley's father talked about philanthropy and community and giving back. All the right words, all the practiced sincerity. Then the donation recognition segment. The MC, a local news anchor, read through the sponsor list. Bronze level, silver level, gold level. Finally, and our platinum sponsor, who wishes to remain anonymous, has made a $25,000 contribution. They've requested a moment to address the audience. She looked at her notes, confused. Mr. Harrison Walters. The room went quiet. Not because they knew me, because they didn't. I stood, walked to the stage, took the microphone. 500 people stared at me, including my daughter. Good evening, I said. My name is Harrison Walters. I'm an electrical systems specialist. I've worked in the city for 40 years, fixed your power grids, wired your buildings, kept your lights on during storms. Polite, confused applause. I'm also a father, I continued. I have one daughter, Rebecca Walters Miller. She's here tonight, actually. Rebecca, would you stand up? Rebecca looked like she wanted to disappear. Bradley grabbed her arm, whispered something. She stayed seated. She's a little shy, I said. That's okay. I'll speak for both of us. I clicked the remote. The screen behind me lit up. First slide, Rebecca's college acceptance letter. Next to it, the tuition payment receipt. My signature. I paid for her education, I said. 4 years. Every semester. $87,000 total, because I wanted her to have opportunities I didn't. Next slide, lease agreement for her first apartment. My name as co-signer. I co-signed her lease, covered her rent when she was building her brand. $34,000 over 3 years. The audience was getting uncomfortable. This wasn't the feel-good charity story they'd expected. Next slide, her wedding invoice. The venue, the photographer. The reception? Her wedding, $43,000. Because every father wants to give his daughter the perfect day. Bradley stood up. This is harassment. Sit down, I said, not loud, just firm. You'll get your turn. Security moved toward the stage. The event coordinator looked panicked. But I had the microphone, and I had 500 witnesses. Next slide, car loan documents. My signature. Payment history showing I'd covered 2 years of payments. Her car, the one that got repossessed 2 weeks ago. $28,000 in payments I made while she told her friends she was self-made. Murmurs in the crowd. Some people were starting to recognize Rebecca, starting to remember the social media posts, the viral video. In total, I said, I gave my daughter approximately $200,000 in financial support over 14 years. And 3 weeks ago, at Thanksgiving dinner, she stood up in front of her family and said, my father-in-law makes in 1 month what my dad makes in 10 years. That's success versus failure. The room fell completely silent. She was right, I continued. Her father-in-law does make more money than me, but here's what she didn't mention. Her father-in-law didn't pay for her life. I did. Her father-in-law didn't work doubles through Christmas so she could have a new laptop for school. I did. Her father-in-law didn't climb utility poles in ice storms so she could afford her study abroad program. I did. Next slide. The promissory notes. The loan agreements. Every document they'd signed, every promise they'd made. These are legal contracts, signed by my daughter and her husband, promises to repay, terms they agreed to, obligations they accepted. Bradley was shouting now. You manipulated us. Those were gifts. Read the contracts, I said calmly. Everyone clearly states loan and repayment terms. You signed them, you agreed. You just never thought I'd collect. Next slide. Screenshots of Rebecca's social media, the BMW, the vacations, the designer bags, all captioned with the Kiar's self-made, cash, independent, child building empire. While I paid her rent, I said, she posted these. While I covered her car payments, she told the internet she'd built her success from nothing. While I worked overtime to keep her accounts funded, she blocked my phone number because talking to her working-class father was exhausting. Some people in the audience were nodding. Others looked horrified. Rebecca was crying. Bradley looked ready to explode. So let me be clear, I said. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm not here to embarrass my daughter, though she seems to have done that to herself. I'm here to make a point about value. Final slide, a photo of a utility pole, me at the top, 30 feet up, working in snow. This is me, last winter, restoring power after a storm. 64 years old, hanging from cables in a blizzard. You know why? Because someone had to. Because the hospital needed power. Because the nursing home couldn't run on generators. Because real work, necessary work, doesn't stop just because it's cold or dangerous or unglamorous. I looked at Rebecca. She was shaking. My daughter thinks success is measured in salary, in status, in social media followers. But here's what I learned in 40 years. Success is keeping your word. Success is doing work that matters. Success is sacrifice without applause. I put down the remote. I donated $25,000 tonight because I believe in this cause. Not because I'm rich, because I believe in giving back, the same way I believed in giving to my daughter. The difference is, this charity will use it to help people who need it. My daughter used it to pretend she didn't need anyone. Everything I needed fit into one manila envelope, and I just emptied it in front of everyone who mattered to them. Bradley hit the stage before security could stop him. I saw it coming. He wasn't subtle, wasn't tactical, just pure rage and humiliation driving him forward like a freight train with no brakes. His fist swung wild. I stepped back. Decades of dodging equipment on job sites paid off. His momentum carried him past me. He caught himself on the podium. "You piece of..." he started. I didn't let him finish. Grabbed his wrist. Twisted. Basic restraint technique I'd learned in union safety training. How to control someone without hurting them. He tried to pull away. Couldn't. "Assault," I said quietly. "In front of 500 witnesses, including judges, lawyers, and at least 3 city council members. Think carefully." His father was climbing the stage now. Older version of Bradley. Same entitled posture. Same fury that someone had dared to embarrass his family. "Let him go," he demanded. I released Bradley. Stepped back. Hands visible. Non-threatening. Security was there now. 4 of them. Surrounding the stage. "Gentlemen," I said to security, "I apologize for the disruption. I'm finished. You can escort me out." "You're not going anywhere," Bradley's father shouted. "You just slandered my son in front of..." "Slander requires false statements," I said. "Everything I showed was documented fact, contracts, receipts, screenshots from public posts. Truth is an absolute defense." Tom appeared at the edge of the stage. He'd been in the audience. I'd told him to stay back unless things got physical. Now he stepped forward, lawyer mode fully activated. "My client presented factual information about his own financial transactions," Tom said. "If your son has an issue with that, he's welcome to file a complaint. But given that he just committed assault in front of multiple witnesses, I'd suggest he focus on his own legal problems." The event coordinator was having a breakdown. "Someone call the police." "Already here," a voice said. 2 officers. Off-duty, working security for the event. They'd watched the whole thing. One of them looked at me. "Sir, you want to press charges?" I looked at Bradley, at his red face, his shaking hands, his father trying to control the situation, his mother crying at their table, and Rebecca, still sitting, still frozen, still trying to be invisible. "No," I said. "He's scared. Scared people do stupid things. I understand." Bradley lunged again. This time his father caught him, held him back. "I'll destroy you," Bradley screamed. "I'll sue you for everything." "You already tried that," I said. "Your lawyer withdrew, remember?" That shut him up. The officers escorted me off stage. Not arrested, just removed from the situation. Tom and Sophia followed. Behind us, the ballroom erupted. Whispers, shouts. The MC trying desperately to regain control. Failure. We walked out through the main entrance, past the valet stand, into the parking lot where my truck waited like a loyal dog. That, Tom said, was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Probably both, I admitted. Sophia was quiet. Just held my hand. We drove home. Didn't talk. Didn't need to. When we got there, my phone had 63 messages. Most from numbers I didn't recognize. A few from old coworkers who'd seen the video, because of course someone had filmed it. Multiple someones. One message stood out. Eddie, my foreman. "Harry, just saw what happened. Entire crew is behind you. You need anything, and I mean anything, you call. We don't forget who has our back." I texted back, "Thanks, Eddie, I'm good. This is almost over." But it wasn't. Not yet. At 11 p.m., headlights lit up our driveway. A car I didn't recognize. Rebecca got out alone. No Bradley, no designer dress. She'd changed into jeans and a t-shirt, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked 16 again. She knocked, soft, almost afraid. I opened the door. "Hi, Dad," she said. "Rebecca. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes, please." Sophia appeared behind me, hand on my shoulder, not stopping me, just present. "Okay," I said. We sat on the porch. Same porch where she'd waited for me when she was 7. Same steps where I'd taught her to tie her shoes. "You destroyed me tonight," she said. Not angry, just factual. I told the truth. Same thing, apparently. She looked at her hands. "Bradley's father kicked us out. Said we're an embarrassment. Said we're cut off financially until we fix this mess. And Bradley? blames me, says I turned you against him, says this is all my fault for having a working-class father. She laughed, bitter, broken. He actually said that. Working class. Like it's a disease. Is that what you think? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know what I think anymore, she said finally. I thought I knew. I thought success meant looking successful, having the right job, the right house, the right image, and you were... She paused. You were evidence that I came from somewhere I didn't want to admit. So you erased me. Yeah, I erased you, slowly, over years. Stopped calling, stopped visiting, stopped introducing you to people. Because every time I did, they'd see, they'd know. I wasn't really one of them. I was just a working-class girl pretending. You didn't have to pretend. Yes, I did. Her voice cracked. You don't understand. Bradley's world, his family's world, they smell poverty. They can tell, and the moment they know you're not really one of them, you're done. You're the help. You're a charity case. You're nothing. So you chose them over me. I chose survival. I thought I had to. I thought if I could just get far enough away from where I came from, I'd be safe, be real, be valuable. She wiped her eyes. And tonight you proved I never was. Everything I built was on your money, your sacrifices, your back-breaking work that I was so ashamed of. I'm not self-made, I'm dad-made, and now everyone knows. I let that sit between us. What do you want from me, Rebecca? I don't know. Forgiveness, understanding, some path forward where I'm not completely destroyed? Why? Why what? Why should I give you that? You took everything I gave and used it to buy entrance into a world that despises people like me. Then when I asked for basic respect, you called me a failure. Why do I owe you anything now? She had no answer. Let me tell you something, I said. I don't regret what I gave you. The money, the support, the sacrifices, I'd do it again. Because that's what fathers do. We give, we provide. We build platforms for our children to stand on so they can reach higher than we did. Dad, but you didn't reach higher. You just stood on my shoulders and pretended you were taller. You took my labor and turned it into your status symbol. And when that status required denying where you came from, you denied me. I'm sorry. No, you're sorry you got caught. You're sorry it's public. You're sorry there are consequences. But you're not sorry you thought it. You're not sorry you believed it. You're just sorry it didn't work. She stood up. So that's it? You're done with me? I'm done being your foundation while you pretend I don't exist. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with honesty. Real honesty. Not strategic apologies. Not damage control. Actual accountability. And if I can't give you that, then you already have your answer. She walked to her car, stopped, turned back. For what it's worth, she said, I do know what you sacrificed. I always did. I just chose to forget, because it was easier. I know. She drove away. Sophia came outside, sat beside me. Think she'll change? She asked. No. Then why talk to her? Because I needed her to know, really know, that I saw through her, that the performance was over, that she can't manipulate me anymore. You think she got it? I think she got that she lost. Whether she learns anything from losing, that's up to her. We sat in the quiet. November night. Cold. Clear. Stars visible despite the city lights. You okay? Sophia asked. Yeah, I'm okay. And I was. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I felt light. The weight of trying to earn my daughter's respect, trying to prove my worth, trying to be enough, gone. They stole my seat at the table. Tonight I took the whole table back. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize and one from a number I did, the title company. I called back. Mr. Walters, this is Patricia from Clearview Title and Escrow. I'm calling about the property at 4127 Ashwood Lane. Rebecca and Bradley's condo. Yes? We've received foreclosure documentation from your attorney. Everything appears to be in order. The 90-day default period has expired. All notifications have been properly served, and you're listed as the primary line holder with authority to execute the foreclosure. That's correct. We're prepared to process the title transfer. Do you want to schedule the signing? I thought about it. The legal right was clear. They'd defaulted. They'd signed contracts giving me that right. Everything was documented, notarized, filed correctly. This was the final piece, the last domino. Yes, I said. Schedule it. Monday at 10 a.m.? Perfect. I hung up. Sophia was making coffee. She'd heard. "You're really taking their home," she said. Not a question, not judgment, just observation. It was never their home. They couldn't afford it. My co-signature made it possible. My money covered the gaps, legally, ethically, practically. It's always been partially mine. And now it'll be entirely yours. For about 15 minutes, then I'm donating it. She turned around. Donating? To a homeless veterans charity. Tom's setting it up. Full transfer, tax deductible. They get a property they can sell or use. I get nothing except the satisfaction of knowing Rebecca and Bradley's luxury condo will house people they'd never let in the front door. Sophia smiled. That's poetic. That's justice. The weekend passed slowly. I worked on some projects in the garage. Fixed a neighbor's electrical problem. Free, like always. Watched a game. Normal life. But my phone never stopped. Messages from reporters wanting comments. Messages from strangers calling me everything from a hero to a monster. Messages from people I hadn't heard from in years, suddenly interested in my story. I ignored them all. Sunday evening, Tom called. "Harry, we have a problem." "What kind?" "Bradley's filed an emergency injunction. Trying to stop the foreclosure, claims fraud, duress, elder abuse, everything he can think of." "Will it work?" "No, but it'll delay things. Maybe a week, maybe a month. Depends on the judge." "Let him delay. I'm not in a hurry." "There's something else. He's threatening to go to the media, do a full interview. Paint you as a vindictive old man who's destroying his innocent children." "Let him." "Harry." "Let him, Tom. I have recordings, documents, proof. Let him go on camera and lie. It'll just make the eventual truth more devastating." Tom was quiet for a moment. "You know, when you first came to me about your will 15 years ago, you seemed like a simple guy, blue-collar, straightforward." "I was." "What changed?" "I got tired of being underestimated. Turns out being underestimated is a tactical advantage." Monday morning. I dressed in my work clothes, clean jeans, button-up shirt, work boots, not trying to look professional, just looking like myself. Tom met me at the title company. Patricia had everything ready. Stacks of forms, pages of signatures, a legal formality made real. Mr. Walters, before we proceed, I need to confirm. You understand that executing this foreclosure will transfer full ownership of the property at 4127 Ashwood Lane to you, and the current residents will have 30 days to vacate? I understand. And you've been advised of all your options, including loan modification, payment plans, and voluntary reconveyance? I have. I'm proceeding with the foreclosure. She slid the first form across the desk. Then we'll begin. I signed, page after page, each signature a decision, each decision final. Halfway through, the door opened. Bradley. Of course, because he couldn't just let this happen quietly. "Stop," he said. "You can't do this." Patricia looked up. "Sir, this is a private transaction. You need to leave." "That's my house." "Actually," Tom said calmly, "it's not. It's your father-in-law's house that you've been living in. And since you've defaulted on the terms of the lineholder agreement, he's exercising his legal right to foreclose." "This is extortion." "No," I said without looking up from the forms. "This is real estate law. You'd know that if you'd read the contracts you signed." He came closer. Security moved in. "Everything I have is in that condo. Rebecca's things. Our life. You can't just take it." "You have 30 days to remove your belongings," Patricia said. "That's standard procedure. Everything else transfers with the property." "I'll sue. I'll fight this. You'll lose," Tom interrupted. "We've been through this. You have no legal standing. The foreclosure is valid. The only question now is whether you leave quietly or get evicted by the sheriff. Your choice." Bradley looked at me. Really looked. Maybe for the first time seeing not the old man he could manipulate, but the strategist who'd been 10 steps ahead this entire time. "Why?" he asked, voice breaking. "Why do this? What did we do that was so terrible you'd destroy everything?" I finished signing the last form, dated it, slid it back to Patricia. Then I looked at Bradley. "You hit me," I said. "You insulted me. You mocked me. You built your life on my money while despising me for not having more of it. But honestly, I could have forgiven all that. People are petty. People are cruel. I've dealt with worse." I stood up, faced him directly. "What I can't forgive is that you made my daughter ashamed of me. You convinced her that her father, a man who kept the lights on during blizzards, who fixed the power grid that runs your computer, who literally held the wires that connect your entire comfortable life, was worthless. You made her believe that earning less meant deserving less, and she believed you because you gave her permission to think what she'd been feeling for years." You laughed at Thanksgiving when she called me a failure. You laughed like it was the punchline you'd been waiting for. That's what I can't forgive. Not the money, not the debts. The fact that you turned my daughter into someone who thinks loving her father is embarrassing. Patricia cleared her throat. Mr. Walters, the transfer is complete. You're now the legal owner of the property. I picked up my copies of the documents, turned to leave. Wait, Bradley said. What happens now? Where are we supposed to go? I don't know. Find a place you can actually afford. Get jobs that pay actual money. Learn to live within your means. You know, the things you've spent years mocking me for doing. Rebecca will never forgive you for this. I stopped at the door. I know, I said. That's her choice. Just like this was mine. Tom and I walked out. Into the parking lot. Into the November sun. That was cold, Tom said. That was necessary. What now? Now we donate the property, transfer the title to the Veterans Charity, and I go back to work. That's it? No victory lap? No celebration? I looked at him. Tom, I just took my daughters home. There's nothing to celebrate, but there is something to finalize. What's that? Making sure she understands this wasn't revenge. It was accountability, and the difference matters. We drove to the charity's office, met with their director, a retired Army colonel named Patricia Reeves. She'd served 30 years, seen things I couldn't imagine. Now she helped veterans transition back to civilian life. Mr. Walters, she said, this donation is extraordinary. A property like this could house 3 families, or be sold to fund our programs for months. Use it however helps the most people, I said. May I ask why you chose our organization? I thought about that, about the men and women who'd served, who'd sacrificed, who'd come home to a country that thanked them with speeches but not support. Because they earned it, I said. They did something real, something necessary, and they deserve better than sleeping on streets while people who've never sacrificed anything live in luxury condos they can't afford. Patricia shook my hand. On behalf of every veteran we serve, thank you. Thank you for doing work that matters. Tom and I finalized the paperwork. The condo that Rebecca and Bradley thought defined their success would now house people they'd never considered worth their time. I signed the final form, watched Patricia sign her acceptance, watched Tom notarize it. Done. We walked outside. I felt empty. Not sad, not happy, just complete. You know they're going to hate you forever, Tom said. Probably. You okay with that? I'm okay with knowing I mattered, even if they never admit it, even if they spend the rest of their lives blaming me. I know the truth. They built their empire on my back and then pretended I was too small to notice. And now? Now I'm not pretending anymore. My phone rang. Sophia. How did it go? She asked. It's done. The property is transferred. They have 30 days. And you? I'm coming home. Good. I'm making your favorite dinner. I hung up, looked at Tom. Go home, Harry, he said. You won. Not everyone gets to say that. I drove home in my old truck, past the neighborhoods I'd wired, past the schools I'd made safe, past the hospital I'd kept running through storms. Honest work. Real work. Work that mattered. And if my daughter couldn't see that, couldn't value that, couldn't respect that, well, that was her loss, not mine. You built your life on other people's checks. Tonight, those checks expire, and I was finally free. The charity gala was set for Friday night, black tie at the Grandview Hotel, 500 guests, corporate sponsors, politicians, press. Bradley's father was the honorary chair, one last attempt to polish the family name. I wasn't invited, but I was a sponsor. Tom helped arrange it. A month before Thanksgiving, I donated $25,000 anonymously. That bought me a table and the option to speak. I hadn't planned on using it. Until now. Friday arrived. I wore my only suit, the one from Rebecca's wedding, still fit, barely. Sophia wore a simple dark blue dress. We walked into the ballroom like we belonged. Chandeliers, ice sculptures, white tablecloths, everyone dressed like wealth, talking like wealth. I spotted Rebecca immediately. Red designer gown, perfect hair, flawless makeup. Standing with Bradley and his parents, pretending everything was fine. She saw me, and her smile faded. Bradley traced her gaze, his jaw clenching. Our table was front and center. Platinum sponsor. Dinner, speeches, awards. Bradley's father delivered textbook lines about community and generosity. Then came sponsor recognition. And our platinum sponsor, who wishes to remain anonymous, has requested to speak. Mr. Harrison Walters? Silence. I walked to the stage, microphone in hand. My name is Harrison Walters, electrical systems specialist, 40 years in this city, and father to one daughter, Rebecca Walters Miller. She's here tonight. Slide 1. Her college acceptance and the tuition receipt. I paid for 4 years, $87,000. Next, her first apartment lease. My name is cosigner. Covered 3 years of rent, $34,000. Next, wedding invoice, $43,000. Next, her car payments, $28,000. In total, about $200,000 over 14 years. 3 weeks ago, she told her family, "My father-in-law makes in 1 month what my dad makes in 10 years. That's success versus failure." The room froze. She was right about his salary, but he didn't fund her life. I did. Next slide. Signed loan agreements. "These are contracts. You both signed. You just never believed I'd collect." Bradley shouted, "Those were gifts." Read the wording. Loan, repayment. Next slide. Her social media, BMW, vacations, designer bags, tagged Hunter self-made. While I paid her rent, she posted this. While I covered her car, she blocked my number because talking to her working-class father was exhausting. Final slide. Me on a utility pole in a snowstorm. Real work doesn't stop because it's cold or unglamorous. Success isn't salary, it's keeping your word. I set the remote down. I donated $25,000 tonight because this charity will actually help people. My daughter used my help to pretend she never needed any. Bradley charged the stage, swinging. I dodged, restrained him. "Assault," I said quietly. 500 witnesses. Security moved in. His father shouted. Tom stepped up. My client presented verified financial records. If your son has an issue, he can file a complaint, though he may want to address the assault first. Police asked if I wanted to press charges. I declined. He's scared. Bradley lunged again. His father held him back. I pulled out one last document. "This is the foreclosure order for 4127 Ashwood Lane. Your condo, filed last week, finalized yesterday. As of this morning, I own it." Rebecca gasped. "You can't." "I already did. You have 30 days to vacate. After that, it will be donated to the Veterans Housing Alliance. You built your life on other people's checks," I said. "Tonight, they stop." I signed the transfer on stage. Cameras exploded. Rebecca collapsed, sobbing. Bradley was frozen, finally realizing the money was gone, and so was the lie. I walked out, dropped their condo keys into the donation box on my way to the truck. Rebecca screamed behind me, a life collapsing in real time. I started the engine. For the first time in 30 years, I felt lighter. Then I drove away, and the lights went out behind us.